Hello, welcome, beloveds. My name is Sheena with the Way of Namaste, and I am joined by my beloved sister Jamie Day today. Today, we're jumping into part two of a conversation that we just launched last week, the beginning of opening up the field around understanding empathy versus compassion, and just sort of walking with some of the textures of how we can be perceiving this reality around us right now and some gentle practical support for navigating these turbulent times, just being honest about it. Richard Rudd, one of my teachers with the Gene Keys, says this is big wave surfing time. And I think that's a perfect way of just really describing how we can become really attuned to working with big energies, but it takes some support, it takes some community, and it takes sometimes just breaking down some of these complex subjects into more digestible pieces. So we can be talking them out, we can be reflecting on them. We've got I have a virtual temple space on the Mighty Networks called the Way of Namaste. And this is a place that I've been really devoted to sharing daily rituals and sacred play invitations for learning how to navigate these times. Everything from oracle readings to contemplation questions for journaling to sacred mudras to passages from the books, from the Gene Keys, and also meeting weekly in community circles where we break down these frequencies and we see the frequency brand, the band from the shadow to the gift to the superpower, the city, the divine essence, and just actually sharing about how we're navigating them, how we're moving through them. And so we've opened up this conversation to be sharing wider on YouTube and to share with all of our friends and family. And we welcome everyone that's tuning in to be sharing this. If there's vibrational resonance and you think that this conversation could be helping people that you know, then we welcome you to share it. And we're keeping these conversations alive inside the virtual temple as well. Continuing to practice in this way of being compassionate listeners and witnesses to one another's experience. So before we go right into the conversation on empathy versus compassion, Jamie, would you mind just introducing yourself into the space for maybe people that weren't here with us last week?
Absolutely, babe. Of course. So I'm Jamie, and Sheena and I have been soul sisters through many, many lifetimes. Thankfully, we found each other in this one. So empathy and compassion, whoo, big, big topics that are worthy of so much attention and grace and space and awareness. And there's something that both of them have for us. They're gifts, if you will. And sometimes what we know living Earth School is to sort of distill the gift. Takes a little bit of support, maybe a little bit of time, just a little bit of a shift in our perspective. And so that's why Sheena and I really felt like it was important to do these conversations now, especially as so much is coming up in our field around. Oh, how do I want to say this? Almost like these spiritual factions of finger pointing.
Mhm.
Um, this gives us just a resonant space to sort of clear things out and really choose sovereignly for ourselves how we want to be in relationship to what we're in relationship to.
Mhm.
So, empathy and compassion are two things that have really helped me in my practice as a psychotherapist, as an energy healer, as a facilitator of sacred space, to keep my energetic ducks in a row, so to speak. Because as we talked about last week, whew, it is so easy in this world to find ourselves, no matter how we present, exhausted, depleted, overwhelmed, facing burnout. And when we are in those states, it can be really challenging for us to stay rooted on the path of our purpose, whatever that is. They're all valuable, they're all equal. So having these conversations from those contexts, really, it's fulfilling a place in my heart as an act of service, which is one of the reasons I know I'm here, is to just have this open, non-judgmental space to just be batting all of these ideas and concepts and theories and perspectives around so that we reroute deeper into ourselves with self-compassion, self-grace, self-patience, self-forgiveness, self-acceptance, and self-understanding. And my prayer is, and Sheena and I talked about this before we even hit record, is that through these conversations, we start to remember breath by breath how amazing we are.
Mm.
No matter what we're doing, no matter where we think we fall on the spectrum of productivity and success and abundance and expansion and ascension, let all of those narratives go. And in this container, you are amazing. So I really hope that that gets to be just a little bit blissfully contagious, that when we're done with these conversations and you've digested them in the way that's most in alignment for you, that you start to find yourself thinking, oh my gosh, I'm amazing.
Wow, I'm powerful.
Yeah, and powerful and delightful and gorgeous, and all of that stuff. Yeah. So that's our hope with these conversations. So I'm Jamie. I'm so excited to be here now. We're going to align and attune our energy, each space. When Sheena and I first were birthing this idea child into form, we've let it be very organic in the sense that these conversations were regarding them in a respectful way, that they're alive too.
Mhm.
So, this temple space is now living with us to help us discern how this temple space is going to be birthed forth and how it will be received. Meaning, we don't really know how many we're going to do. We don't have a set schedule of when we're going to do them. We do know that there's going to be this interactive space via the way of Namaste for you to kind of just get on there and puzzle things out for yourself, to be compassionately witnessed as you are sharing your empathic authenticity, and to also compassionately witness others as they do the same. So if you're willing to hop on this dragon ride with us, let's start talking about empathy and compassion and how we can really just tune that dial, which is one of my favorite things to do. You're going to see me do this all the time. Just tune that dial so that both are in harmonic resonance for us in the most aligned way as we express ourselves through this embodied experience of being human. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, Sheena, what else do you want to say as far as just setting everybody, including ourselves, up for success around this conversation and our subsequent or our subsequent intentions for these conversations going forward?
I think I just want to add that there's no wrong way to compassionately witness. There's no wrong way to be human. We're sharing what's working for us, what's helped us, what's supported us. And with anything that we share, if there's anything that doesn't resonate, as you so lovingly say, chuck it in the bucket. You're a sovereign being here, having your own way of experiencing this. So while we share, as I said, what's been helpful for us, you might have something else that's helpful. Share that with us. We would love that feedback. We would love to keep growing this conversation. So while this is our truth, it may not be somebody else's truth, and that's okay. And so I just sharing that just from that place of sovereignty. We are here as co-creators of the experience, and there's no wrong way to be a compassionate witness in this world.
Absolutely. And we're all figuring this out together, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
So if you feel in alignment with watching our first offering, just to go back and talk about that, if you haven't watched it, or maybe even if you have, just getting familiar with that first temple space again, Sheena and I were really talking about how we understand empathy and compassion and how they show up for us in our lives, and sort of the pink flags, red flags, if you will, that let us know that we're in one camp or the other, so that we have that sovereign awareness to choose, through that powerful transformational, a lightning rod of change that we possess, we can jump back and forth for whatever is most in alignment for us at any given moment. So if it does align with you, go ahead and watch that first one. If you've already watched it, namaste. Today, what we're going to be talking about is getting used to being the compassionate witness for others
Mhm.
and also getting used to being in empathic awareness with ourselves.
Mhm.
And we even talked about this a little bit at the end of our first conversation that being compassionate with others, we can start to create a story that it's boring
Mhm.
because life isn't going to be going like this
Mhm.
as much,
Mhm.
right? And if our nervous system is used to this, maybe this is going to feel a little lackluster. So we're going to
Mhm.
be talking about that today, interventions, things that we can just support ourselves with, and then some other ideas that are just kind of cropping up about ways to just deepen into these wisdom teachings.
Mhm.
So anything, Sheena, before we align, attune, and allow?
Just the reminder that this application right here, this practical support of aligning, attuning, and allowing, this really is a beautiful experience of turning on that observer, of just allowing the egoic body to take a back seat. So, our prayer, our intention is that this allows us to soften the space, to really become aware that we are witnessing and we can turn on that observer in this experience. So, that's what we're going to do to drop us into the space. So, just a reminder that we already know everything that we need to know. We're not here to learn more, we're just here to remember more. So, there's no need to take notes, there's no need to feel like there's going to be a test at the end of this, but we can just allow our egoic brain to take a back seat and just allow ourselves to receive in this moment.
Beautifully said, right? Don't need to learn or earn anything
Mhm.
in this space. It's just a process of remembering and reclamation,
Mhm.
remembering and reclaiming.
Mhm.
So, one thing that we get to be the compassionate witness around is that there is a loving gentleman outside of my house with a handheld blower, creating a symphony of sound. However, right, if I was empathically attached to an expectation around this sanctuary, or I was empathically attached to the outcome, that might really be bothering me. I might be simmering and seething underneath, right? We've
Mhm.
all had to feel like we were holding that split screen of two or more versions of us
Mhm.
wanting to be expressed at any time.
Mhm.
Yet, as a compassionate witness, I don't have attachment to an outcome. I don't have expectations. I'm not putting judgment on myself or perceiving that others are going to judge me
Mhm.
because I'm the compassionate witness here. And
Mhm.
I'm really this neutral observer in a place of space and grace and really just gratitude that everything fits.
Mhm.
So play with that. I don't share that because I'm giving myself like atta girls and pats on the back. I'm saying let's play with that because life is always going to have a guy with a blower outside of our window in some capacity.
Mhm.
How can we really be the compassionate witness around that?
Yeah.
Okay, next thing is aligning and attuning and allowing. This is us creating our group soul. If you did this with us last week, fabulous. Each time we do it, it's going to just feel stronger and more rooted in this wonderfully exquisite biological operating system known as our human being. If you didn't do it with us last week, welcome.
Mhm.
It's a wonderful experience of creating a very specific temple space of protection where our higher self is really infusing our being so that we feel so connected to our higher self soul light and we also feel connected to everyone in our temple space. So energy follows thought. And energy knows no time nor distance. So that means wherever you are connecting to us through the power of your thought. There's no time. So whenever you're receiving this in your now moment, you're part of our group soul, no matter what. And as long as you're holding it somewhere, either within the consciousness of your heart, the consciousness of your mind, the consciousness of your soul, that you are thinking the thoughts and feeling the feelings of being connected to us, no matter if you identify as psychically sensitive, energetically sensitive, or anywhere on those spectrums, It doesn't matter. As long as you're aware of your intention, that energy is following that thought. So this group soul is being created. So that's a long way of saying we're going to imagine a bunch of things through the co-creation of this temple space, our group soul. So I'm just going to ask you to work with the imagination of your soul. So let's start there right now. Breathe in, eyes open, eyes closed, whatever you want to do, and imagine a beautiful beam of emerald light going into the back of your heart, juicing your whole body and going out the front of your heart. Okay, just imagine that. What does it look like? Maybe you are already your own neutral observer. Maybe you're feeling it while also seeing it simultaneously. Remember what Sheena said, there is no right or wrong way to be in this temple space. There's only your way, and that is the way.
Mm,
So trust in yourself. Feeling that emerald ray. Ooh,
mm,
you know what that is? The emerald ray? It's unconditional love. Let that unconditional love come into you. And now, with intention, create a connection of the emerald ray coming out of your heart, connecting that ray of light to everyone else's emerald ray coming out of their heart and our entire temple space. So, those are people known and unknown to you, and that's okay. You're just going to make that intentional connection heart to heart, beginning and ending with you, feeling that timeless, spaceless connection of heart to heart alignment. Take a deep breath in. And on the exhale, what we're going to do is we're going to imagine a beautiful indigo, like a gorgeous purpley color, that color of light, that ray of light coming into what's known as the Ajna chakra right here at the mid-brow. It's coming into the ajna, juicing the brain, going down and juicing the body, then leaving the body behind the crown. So feel into that connection. And this purple ray of light is unconditional wisdom. So right here, right now, we're blending unconditional love and unconditional wisdom. Now, intentionally connect that ray of purple light at your ajna, connect it ajna to everyone in our temple space, known and unknown, beginning and ending with you. Feel into that heart to heart connection, that ajna to ajna connection. Feel into the love and the wisdom coming together in sacred union within your being. Again, play with imagining what emerald and purple light look like dancing together. Now take a deep breath in. On the exhale, we're going to direct that emerald and that purple ray of light up through the crown of the head, all the way up to the white light of the soul, the higher self. This is a pristine ray of white light. This is your higher self. This is your soul light. Feel this connection of body, mind, and spirit. Yes, emerald and purple and white rays of light. The energy of love and wisdom and your higher self coming together. Now, intentionally connect higher self to higher self. Soul light to soul light. I use those words interchangeably. So you're going to imagine that white ray of light going around and connecting to the higher self soul light of every being in this temple space, beginning and ending with you. So we've created living consciousness spheres of love, of wisdom, and of soul infused energy. Feel into that. Now feel all of us coming together as one. And we are going to travel simultaneously, ascending and descending. going all the way up to the beautiful light of source, that resplendent illumination, feeling ourselves warmed and energized by the light and nourishment of source. And remember, source is for you whatever you choose at this moment, at this time. Now also feel into this vertical pillar of light, connecting us to source, connecting us through the physical body, going all the way down into the center of Mother Earth. I like to think of this as her womb, the very center, her diamond crystal core. Connect in and here. The darkness is gentle. It's warm. It's replenishing. Here we pull in with this compassionate embrace, feeling ourselves becoming revived and renewed. Now bringing these energetics of source and of center back into your body, letting them find this wonderful place of union within your heart. Feeling back into our group soul connection, this temple space, this safe and secure sanctuary. Now what we do is we said our two prayers. The prayer for the greatest and highest good to come forward for ourselves first, for each other second, and for every living thing throughout all time and all space third. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, now set your intention for the greatest and highest choice to come forward for yourself, for others, and for every living thing throughout all time and all space. Feel into that. Notice what you notice about yourself. And just for a moment, play with really allowing the knowing to come in, the knowing of awe, literally being awe-struck by you, by yourself, by how amazing you are. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for this co-creation.
Mm. Ah. Codes of ecstatic bliss activated. Oh, always such a pleasure, Jamie. Thank you so much.
Mm. You are welcome so much, darling. I beamed that to you non-verbally, but then I was like, oh, wait, we're recording this. I should probably say it too.
Oh, I felt it. I heard it. I saw it. All the things like the Care Bear stare of rainbow.
Yes. Yeah. All right, sissy, let's talk. And happy 11:33 a.m. for our now moment.
Ooh, loving that. Loving that.
Yeah.
Ah, so
All
yeah,
right. So let's talk.
let's talk. Let's pick it up where
Empathy,
we were last week.
compassion. Yep.
So I wrote a quote here today. Empathy is a doorway, but if we stop there, we get pulled under. Compassion is the bridge. It says, I see your pain and I hold you in love without drowning in it.
Mm.
So empathy can connect us, but compassion can free us. And I think that this is what this revolution, this evolution is really about right now, is learning how to alchemize empathy into compassionately witnessing. And especially for those that are here called into service to be space holders, this is especially monumental right now of learning how to be in the right use of our energy, of our power. And so allowing ourselves to be with, especially as you said, our own pain, our own suffering, and not trying to bypass that experience, thinking that we have to be compassionate witnesses with ourselves, but learning this practice of empathically experiencing what it is that we're experiencing. But when it comes to being in right relationship with the other, learning how this alchemy can take this transmutation of this empathy into this compassionate witness to become this bridge. And like you so beautifully said, this can feel a little boring at times. And I'd love for you to break that down a little bit more. And we don't have to go into the full science of it now, but maybe just like a little micro biology of just sort of the hormones or the chemicals that are released when we are in empathy versus when we're in compassion.
Mm, yeah, that's a really great place to start because our bodies will get really used to the familiarity of our nervous system responses when we perceive there's danger, fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And those four states have a lot of chemical components to uphold them so that we can survive through them while also simultaneously attempting to survive the now moment, whatever is transpiring for us in that now moment. Now, empathy is just a little bit different than, say, a trauma trigger. However, they are very similar in a lot of ways too, because let's break empathy down. When we are being empathic with others, what we're doing is we are literally stepping into their experience and carrying it oftentimes for them.
Mhm.
Sometimes they might carry a little bit, but chances are, if we're empathically really being codependent with someone, when we're empathic with others, it is a dynamic of codependency. What
Mhm.
we're doing is we're stepping in and we're carrying their weights for them. We are processing their emotions for them. We are fixing situations for them. We are enabling them to get back into this same process again so that we can be the rescuer and we can step into this victimization vortex, which really is a vortex, and we can scramble and basically work ourselves to a point of exhaustion and depletion, getting both of us out of there.
Mhm.
So you got to think to maintain that. Holy moly, to maintain that level of energy that we're consistently on the output with when our gas tank is already at a level E,
Mhm.
there is a lot of like whipping our own back that we got to do to get ourselves in line to
Mhm.
try to force some energy, in there. That'd be like drinking a pot of coffee and then having a Red Bull. We're really attempting to like try to engender all this energy in our system to do that. And when we do that, we keep ourselves in this frantic, frenetic state. We are hyper aroused. We are hyper vigilant, right? And we're constantly looking for the next fix,
Mm.
literally and figuratively, right?
Mm.
So when our nervous systems are all over the map responding like that, and from a place of exhaustion and depletion, and let's be honest, misalignment,
Mhm.
um, it can be a state of being that, although is like we talk about it right now, and we're thinking it's a no-brainer. Who wants to live like that? But there are very deep, ancient parts of us that are choosing to live like that because we've believed the restrictive narrative that that's what we have to do to create an identity of being likable, of being accepted, of being nice, of being popular, of being sought after.
Mhm.
So much so that we kind of like want this name tag that says, "Hi, my name's Jamie. I'll drop everything that I'm doing to come and help you with what you're going through, no matter what." So it's so complex and so much is wrapped into it. Our identity, our nervous system, ancient, antiquated ways of being that are familiar, and our egoic self will pick those over a new opportunity because the new opportunity is new. We don't know how that works. That's too scary. So we're going to keep
Mhm.
doing this old opportunity. And our nervous system is literally addicted to getting this chemical hit over and over and over to try to keep us producing, producing, saving, saving, fixing, fixing, stepping into empathic like resonance with others.
Mhm.
So when we step out of that, and please, stepping out of it, like we talked about last week, This stuff takes time. It takes awareness. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of trial and error. But when we start to step out of that, and I even did this at the beginning of our conversation, when we're used to this being the
Mhm.
daily regular and we
Mhm.
switch it maybe even to this,
Mhm.
and then this goes to this,
Mhm.
and then suddenly it's kind of like this,
Mhm.
that process of release can feel terrifying.
Mhm.
We can convince ourselves this is boring.
Mhm.
Yeah. Who wants to live like life like this? It's
Mhm.
boring. It's boring,
Mhm.
boring, boring. And we can also feel that we've completely lost who we know ourselves to be.
Mhm.
So it's a big, big thing for us to think about. A, releasing through gentle awareness these ways of being, while also finding a pocket of patience and forgiveness for ourselves as we try to figure this out, get used to the new normal. You know, those stress chemicals are addictive. These patterns and cycles, they're habitual, yes, but they are addictive as well. We're not getting in them to try to make ourselves miserable. And we
Yeah.
talked about this last time. We came by these types of cycles and patterns honest. It's probably how we grew up. It's how we lived and survived our childhood, really, in a
Mhm.
lot of ways.
Yeah.
Now we get to take that sovereign step to say, I'm not going to step into this old way of being anymore.
Mm. Oh, I love the way that you broke that down. And I was having this visualization too of this scenario of like having a roommate that wants to lose weight. You wouldn't hit the gym and pump iron to, lose the weight on behalf of your roommate, but what you can do is you can role model, you can go to the gym together, you can be both supporters of one another in this healthy process. And I have a best friend that I watched lose over 100 pounds by going and regularly practicing this. But when she looked in the mirror, she didn't see herself 100 pounds lighter. She still saw the old version of that. She still went into the dressing room with the old size clothes because it was so much for her brain to take in that she had lost this former identity. And I think that's a really important part of this is being really compassionate and patient in the process, that as we go through this huge transmutation, this big transfiguration of who we were into who we are, there is a stripping away of an identity. And that process in itself needs to be grieved, needs to be honored, and needs to be compassionately witnessed, because we might have surrounded ourselves with so many people that were facilitating us eating unhealthy or doing things that weren't in our best interest. And so there might be a whole wave of changes that show up in our external environment when we do start to treat ourselves in a different way, when we do start to put that energy back into ourselves instead of outsourcing it so much. So just that idea that we truly are losing an identity of who we were into who we are becoming. This journey is a whole becoming process. But I think one of the things that I'm continuously needing to learn in my own experience is how to be patient with myself and with others that are navigating this, going from the highs of the highs to maintaining this level and being able to see there's nothing wrong with this level. It's just a new normal. And just like any time that we're getting off track or we're creating a new neural pathway, it's going to take time before it's becoming the new route that we go. Before that, it's going to feel like unfamiliar and unknown.
Yeah, and the phone may stop ringing and the party invitations may stop coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as you really do create this new identity for yourself, which is really stepping into your divinely aligned self, if all of these relationships have been created in a state of codependency, meaning these relationships carry the expectation that you are going to empathically enable the people that are picking up the phone to call you, the people that are inviting you over.
Mhm.
And when you do start to make this shift within yourself, these people, places, and things that have been so used to you showing up as their empathic sort of, you know, arms to hold them as they go through what they're going through, there might be some pushback. And we talked a little bit about this last week too. I'm so glad that we get to sort of revisit it now in this space. There might be some pushback. If somebody's been so used to you doing the heavy lifting, emotional, energetic, mental energy lifting for them, and probably some physical lifting too, and you start to pull back, you can imagine them to want to fight that.
Mm-hmm.
There might be some tantruming. There might be some, just some big reactivity around you claiming your empathy back for yourself. And that's another way that like we can kind of have this egoic story that starts to create of like, oh, I shouldn't do this. I don't have any friends anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody likes me anymore. This new way of being isn't all it's cracked up to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to tell you it's not. It's actually more. But
Mm-hmm.
there is going to be that really weird, wonky wobble
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to feel as you're in this transitional space. And it might kind of feel lonely. It might feel just a little bit isolating. And when you get on the other side of that, you do look back and realize, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I needed to learn how precious my energy is for me. If I
Mm-hmm.
had the phone ringing all the time and had all these social engagements that were, grounded in empathy versus compassion, I would have still been on this energetic output and not ever able to realize the gold that it is when I keep my energy for myself.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you're in the midst of it, it can feel alarming, it can feel scary, it can feel sad, it can feel, oh, very unsettling to
Mm-hmm.
kind of meet yourself in these spaces with the realization of, oh my gosh, this is what I've been doing. I see it now in all these different places. When that's coming up for you, remember you are totally worth resourcing the support that you deserve.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many ways out there for you to support yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Find a therapist, an energy healer. If money is an issue, advocate for yourself and ask for a sliding scale. Describe what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Talk with this facilitator about what your plan is and make a plan together. I promise you, you will be able to access and resource the support that you so deserve in this space. Just
Mm-hmm.
don't forget to do that for yourself.
Yeah. And that can be something that we weren't taught before, that we haven't been way shown a lot, is putting our needs over the needs of others when we're so used to being that for somebody else. When you have all this time, the phone's not ringing off the hook anymore. You're not going out all the time. Your energy is used in a different way. It can be different. It can be new to say, how do I resource myself? How do I use this without doom scrolling or numbing out or distracting, but actually say, I have the gift of time right now. Right. And it is um, a whole new resonance to step into of finding the privilege and the gratitude for the time earned, for the time gained from these experiences. But it is something new. And, one of the things that you touched on earlier, and, I don't know if this would be better for the next conversation or kind of just to bring it back to something you said at the beginning, is sometimes we can blame, sometimes we can project. And sometimes that can feel like the hot potato of the discomfort that we throw at somebody else or that somebody else can throw at us. This idea that something big is happening. So I want to jump to pointing fingers about it. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, and you're so right. I think this does get to be part of this conversation and subsequent conversations. When we're in the space of empathy, you've got to remember we're so depleted, we're exhausted, we've got burnout. There could be secondary or tertiary traumatization happening, coming from here to in here as we are empathically in codependent relationships with so many other people, places, and things. And in this space, there's reactivity, right? We just talked about that when people who are used to you stepping in and doing their doing for them, when you start to pull back, there could be some pushback on that. When these, like, I heard you say big events, like when these big world events happen that are so filled with trauma and terror and wounding and cruelty, if there is a set point to want to point a finger at someone else,
Mhm.
call someone else out,
Mhm.
I would just say, take a breath,
Mhm.
ask why that energy is in you to want to judge and attack someone else in retaliation of a brutality that you're witnessing here.
Mhm.
What is it that's about that could be empathically understood? If brutality is
Mm.
happening here and brutality is really being evoked in here to come out at someone else, how is that bringing in alignment of peace and ease?
Mm.
So if we are empathically connecting to someone or something else, regardless of if something is happening on the external or not, and we're feeling it in us that we want to finger point, judge, attack, malign someone or something else, that's where we really get to step back and compassionately witness ourselves through our own empathic process and say, what is going on with me? What is
Mhm.
going on with me that is still in here that I get to hold with so much love, so much compassion, so much patience? That's being empathic with yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I love bringing it through to that practical, logical understanding. If it's out there, it's in here. So, how can we be empathic with ourselves in that moment?
And I think maybe this is where we go next time. I was thinking another good place to go next time would be the very challenging perspective and conversation about learning how to be compassionate with our children
Mm.
versus empathic with our children,
Mhm.
what that can look like. So I
Yeah.
think that's a place that we go to next in this conversation that we've just started. When big events are happening on the external,
Mhm.
how do we respond compassionately? And how do we stay so aware when we're wanting to basically cast a net of empathy,
Mhm.
and how that can be part of our own process of making sense of things through that lens of our own experiences, our own trauma triggers, our own hypervigilance, our own hyperarousal, and how we can compassionately get back down to understanding being empathic with ourselves
Mhm. Mhm.
as not a reaction, but a response. So I think those are two places we get to go.
Yeah, I love that. And I love just, the practical support of thinking about the empathy for ourselves. I know I've been in this contemplation a lot this week of just thinking of we are the elements. All of the elements are within us. So if on the global scale we see the fires, what is the divine will that's being activated inside me? Where's the fire? Where's the passion inside of me? Rather than turning to the anger and the blame and the projection. If we see the rising waters, what is the emotional release that my body is asking me to take on right now? If we see the hurricanes and the storms and the weather, what is the air in the lungs? How deep am I breathing? How can I be with my air? If we see the things happening in the soil on the earth, how am I putting my bare feet out into nature? How am I connecting with the trees outside? How am I the representative of earth in my own physical body? And just being with these really deep emotions through the alchemical nature of the elements that are within us. So I know for me, that's been my place to start. If I'm feeling that empathy coming on, or if I feel or I see in this space this shame, this blame, this projecting, this hot potato of finger pointing, it's bringing me back into the own elements inside my body. How can I alchemize this within me so that I'm not seeing it around me? Because I like to believe there's only one of us here.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it that you say that. And I share that with people all the time. There's only one of us here. So, yeah, just to sort of piggyback on what you just said, when we take that time to sit with our own inner process of alchemy, I promise that the aligned, compassionate response to whatever we're witnessing out here will make itself known. And it will not be an empathic reaction of depletion, exhaustion, self-injurious thinking, feeling, choices, behaviors, or injurious to any other person, place, or thing. It
Mm.
will be a compassionate response really birthed forth from the inner alchemy of knowing of what you just described. If we're seeing poison out there, where is there poison in here? If we're seeing war out there, where is there warfare happening in here? If we're seeing
Mhm.
abuse out here, where is there abuse happening in here?
Mhm.
That's where we start.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the time. It's 11:54. I think our last little bullet point just gets to be something we've already talked about. And this is kind of a way to maybe wrap it up on a note that will give everybody something to sort of chew on until our
Mhm.
next conversation. So we've already established that when we're in empathic codependency with another person, place, or thing, that's pulling all of our focus,
Mhm.
right? And we're giving it. We're giving all of our focus. And we talked about last week that it's always okay to be empathic with ourselves. It's always okay to be compassionate with ourselves. It's always okay to be compassionate with others. It can be misaligned. And for the contents of this conversation, for me, it's always misaligned. Chuck that in your own fuck it bucket if it doesn't work for you. But for me, it's always misaligned if I'm empathic with any other person, place, or thing.
Mhm.
Because when I am so focused on fixing and getting my own fix through
Mhm.
empathic codependency, what I'm not doing is I'm putting on like murky glasses to try to see the world out there, meaning I'm deliberately inhibiting myself from being able to stand in the awareness of my own empathic resonance with my own experiences. And what that does is we're empathic with ourselves no matter what. We may be
Mhm.
completely in denial or distracting ourselves or disassociating, but the empathy with ourselves is happening nonetheless. What I really want us to do is start to become aware of that so we can be like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
I did this. I am amazing.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, I just empathically, you know, made it through that situation, that conflict, that ecstasy,
Yeah.
that choice, relational sort of peace that I was working on and my primary relationship, any of that stuff. But I really want us to start to become empathically aware of us so that
Mhm.
we can really start to give ourselves so much recognition and acknowledgement.
Amen. I feel like how do you find the power in empowerment? It really is just that. It's witnessing yourself going through a big event and coming to the other side of it and being like, just did that. I just did that. Oh my gosh. And it wasn't as big as I had made it out to be a lot of times. Sometimes it is, but most of the time, once we get through it, we're like, oh, I got this. And that's a muscle that we strengthen, this empowering piece of being with our own emotional experience all the way through and without getting the hits, like you said. It's so I love that application of the word in this because it means so many layers. Like it makes so much sense. It is a hit when we're doing this, when we're outsourcing our power over there, but when we're doing it for ourselves, that is such sacred medicine within our own ability to overcome, that we get to see what we are truly capable of, coming back into that powerful place of recognizing, oh, I got this. I got this. And now I'm better prepared for the next time a big wave comes again. I don't have to get tousled underneath. Now I've got some moves.
And kind of like where you started, now we have freedom,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
How
There's
much
a
more?
release of bliss, of ecstasy, of joy.
Yes, yes. So remember, empathy is restrictive, compassion is liberating.
Yes.
Empathy is misaligned becoming, compassion is aligned being with. I mean, we even said this at the end last time. Empathy has a lot of words, silence, or I'm sorry, compassion has a lot of silence.
Mhm.
Empathy has a lot of doing, compassion has a lot of stillness. Like I'm just going to say let's keep these kind of, little wordplay understandings going
Yeah.
because I think it's going to help it root into the organic brain for us and for everyone who's aligned and joining us in this space, to just be able to identify
Mhm.
what this stuff is and how it's like playing out.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah. This is how we access and remember and reclaim our sovereignty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right,
Anything else you've
darling.
got? Anything else you want to share before we close out?
I don't think so. I'm really excited for people to start to weigh in via the way of Namaste. And just like we talked about last week, our sort of sacred boundaries, sacred agreements in that space is that when you need to empathically share, just know you will be compassionately witnessed. Nobody's going to step in and like help you puzzle this out, help you figure it out. No crosstalk, no advice, no nothing. It's just, I love you, I see you.
Hmm.
But feel free to just empathically share and receive that compassionate witnessing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, if this message resonates, share it with a friend. Let's keep the conversation going. And as always, warmly invited into our virtual temple, the Mighty Networks, the Way of Namaste, where we've got a lot more conversations happening on there too.
Mm. Yeah, that really is a treasure trove. So I'm so grateful that you've created that beautiful resource for so many people.
Thank you, sister. Thank you for being a major part of it.
You are welcome, darling. I love you.
I love you. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your presence. Thank you, as always, for just continuing this conversation, which is part of our evolution revolution right now as sovereign
That's
beings.
right. Bye, everybody.
Namaste. Mm,
Namaste.
bye.